If you've been on TikTok or Instagram or even YouTube Shorts, you've probably seen videos like this pop up on your feed. Oftentimes, they describe these vague ideas of creatures and beings that are nameless, that exist in the fabric of liminal spaces. Things that crawl out of the deep recesses of these places, and oftentimes they have all these rules and they have strange effects and things like that. These are what's known as liminal entities. So in today's video, I want to discuss those creatures. I want to talk about where they come from, why they exist, and I want to discuss some of their effects and how they make up these beautiful, uncanny, weird, strange worlds that we know and love that are these liminal spaces. This is unlike any video I've ever created before, so if you do enjoy it, please let me know. That way I can keep making them if you do. But with all that said, let's leave our world and enjoy this brief escape into the liminal expanse of this video. Or as I like to say, the place where nothing ends and nothing begins. The liminal world. Okay, so I wanted to include this introduction section, that way we all get on the same page here, and I can make sense of what liminal entities are. Because I know a ton of you are already commenting, there's no entities in liminal spaces, there's no creatures in liminal spaces. Calm down, delete your comment, I gotta tell you what's going on. In this video, I am not talking about the back rooms, I'm not talking about that creepypasta, I'm discussing liminal spaces and their alleged creatures that live deep inside of them, or not. Liminal spaces and the liminal plane is only accessed when you're deep in your sleep at a certain part of the night. So essentially, these are environments that you can lucid dream into, and your lucid dream self can explore them. Oftentimes, these places look nostalgic, and they resemble places that you've seen before, things you've experienced, yet they're empty, they're uncanny, they're strange versions of those places. This liminal plane is an in-between reality and death location, and that's why it gives you those strange feelings of uncanniness. Liminal spaces often get confused with the back rooms, and that's a huge turn-off point for a lot of people. They say the back room is supposed to be empty, they say liminal spaces are supposed to be empty, but I'm here to tell you in the simplest way possible, the back rooms has liminal spaces inside of it, but the back rooms itself is not liminal spaces. Okay, so the back rooms does have liminal spaces and the liminal aesthetic inside of it, but that is not the entire composition of that creepypasta. There's other lore, there's other things like that. Liminal spaces and these dreamscapes, these are different things. They are not the same thing. Dreamscapes are more empty, they're uncanny, they're strange. Nothing's really documented about them. Nothing is written down in a lore or a lore system at all. These are mangled remembrances of your childhood, these scenes, these areas, these outlooks. Many times they're based off of your childhood traumas, and these places are only accessed via lucid dreaming at some point during the night. So anything that you see inside of these liminal areas, inside of this dreamscape, they might just be conjurings of your own mind. They're not flesh and blood, they're things that you're already thinking about. But the purpose of this video is to talk about recurring entities that multiple people claim to see inside of these liminal spaces. More importantly, I want to focus on the strange beings and what they might mean as it relates to your life. Because it's pretty weird that some people see the same weird looking creatures that are going to be in this video. So if that makes any sense at all, then you're ready to watch this video as we dive into these commonly seen liminal space creatures, and I'm going to talk about why they might appear, what they might mean, and show you and describe to you what they are. Okay, now we can get into the creatures. So for the sake of this video, I want to begin with what I think is the most common creature that your mind will manifest to exist inside of these liminal spaces, and those are called the eyes. Eyes in this context, much like our own eyes, appear in different shapes, different sizes, and they appear differently to everybody, truly. Oftentimes manifesting themselves as simply just the sclera, iris, and pupil, so like the middle part of your eye. Usually these beings appear in these liminal spaces far away. They don't appear right up next to you, instead choosing a vantage point above or beyond you to just stare at you, essentially. They want to stare, because that's what they are, they're eyes. They might be far off in the dark recesses of a hallway, or they might be high up in the clouds of a sky dreamscape. They usually have no eyelashes and they have no eyelids, and they only blink when you're not looking. They also have no corporeal body. There's no physical being that exists here, and they only manifest as the eye. A commonly reported theme with the eyes is that they will track your movement with themselves. So if you walk around, they're going to be following you with the pupil. They usually appear to be very inquisitive in nature, and they try to understand and view what you're doing. They usually appear together as one singular eye or multiple eyes. There can be a whole cluster of them. There can be one large eye. It can be on something. For instance, it could be on a mushroom or on a flower, perhaps even a wall or a tree or something of that nature. They can essentially appear anywhere where there's something. Another commonly reported part of these eyes is angelic eyes with these wings that look to be biblical in a way. These eyes typically float around slowly in these dreamscapes wherever you are, and again, they will follow and watch you as you make your moves. Whatever the case is, these eyes that appear in the liminal spaces, their reasons for existing are multifaceted. It's my opinion that the dreamer that is currently experiencing these areas, they are paranoid, or they're being watched in their daily lives, and their subconscious creates these eyes in their liminal space dreams in order for them to manifest that. Maybe the dreamer has a fear of being seen, or maybe they're scared of being processed by strangers. Maybe they have an overbearing boss. Maybe they're constantly being watched at school or in their life, or maybe their job is to be in front of a camera, and that's why they see these eyes in their dreams. The eyes could also represent the fact that you're not actually alone, and not even in a creepy way like something's watching you, but in life. Maybe the eyes represent the fact that you have a whole family behind you, watching you, and friends and loved ones and that kind of thing, always making sure you're okay, and your subconscious just manifests them in the shape of eyes in your dreams. And I say that because a lot of people think that they're uncannily comforting in a strange way. Because when you're in these different liminal areas, when you're walking around these plains or these deep buildings or wherever you're at, it's lonely, right? You're going to be very lonely and it's going to be empty. But if these eyes appear, you're not alone, but you're also not threatened. It really just depends on where your headspace is and where you're at in your life. Like I said, it could go either way, but what I've just explained to you is typically the reasons, or what I think are the reasons, that eyes will appear in liminal spaces. Whatever the case is, it is not recommended to make direct eye contact with any eyes that you see appearing, no matter if they're angel eyes, eyes in objects, or just floating eyeballs. It is not recommended to stare because it's said to induce visions and a feeling of connection that you don't really want. Doing so can cause the entire dream to become derealized, and that might make you wake up in a scared sweat, I don't know. But these are the most common creatures that you'll likely see in a liminal space dream. Maybe. I don't know you personally, but maybe they are. The tall man with no face is another creature that is commonly reported in these dreams. He appears as a towering, shadowy, ungainly figure that inhabits the deep areas of these liminal spaces. So I'm talking extremely far into the fathoms of these huge building complexes, as well as out in the wilderness of these liminal scapes. He's remarked to have extremely unnaturally long arms and legs, and his features are just elongated and pencil thin. He's very skinny. Usually he's described as being very intimidating and stands over 9 feet tall, and his most hallmark feature, you could say, is the lack of features on his face, where a face and eyes and nose and mouth usually should be, instead is just smooth black skin. But it's not really skin, it's more of just a black grainy mist. And usually the tall man with no face never gets close enough for you to see any other features. He kind of stands off in the distance just as this silhouette figure. This man is said to have a very sinister presence and tone, and it is not a good thing to make him known that you're near. Do not acknowledge his presence, and do not make yourself known either. Those who see the tall man with no face oftentimes claim that they get extreme feelings of anxiety and stress when looking at him. I mean, how could you not? It's a giant shadow monster that's made of grainy glitch. I mean, he's just staring at you. It's pretty scary. He seems to aimlessly explore these empty spaces, much like you're doing, but instead of exploring through a viewing standpoint, standpoint, he's walking around through a ravenous standpoint, almost seeking to devour the spaces. That's what it seems like. Usually he's seen standing just out of distance. Like I said, you can't really get a good look at him, but he's definitely watching, kind of mimicking your moves. If you approach the tall man with no face before he sees you, he's often seen just standing alone in rooms or sitting down in corners staring at the wall, almost like he's not being, played. If this is a video game, it's like he's AFK or something. The man moves with unnatural swiftness, and the only notion that he is moving is small clicking sounds where his legs hit the ground. He runs at an unnaturally fast pace, and there's no really point in trying to outrun him. First of all, because you're in a dream, you can't really run very well, and also because this does induce high feelings of stress and anxiety. Many times he's been witnessed peering over buildings or looking around electrical poles or something like this to try to see you better. And his motives are still unknown, although he is very terrifying and very creepy, and that general feeling of unease does come with his presence. Some people say that he's jealous of your eyes, and that's why he's chasing you. And others say that his entire goal is to steal your life and your eyes so he can get back to real life. Others say that he's much like yourself, and he too is lost in this empty world of liminal spaces that never end or begin, and all he's looking for is a companion. It's just that he looks creepier than you do, so you don't really want to recognize him. While that's sweet, he does look terrifying, so I don't know about all that. The reason for his appearance inside of these liminal spaces again relates to the fact that you probably have a fear of being perceived. Maybe one large thing in your life is nagging at you, want to do but you can't do, and that's why he manifests in your dreams, because he's trying to chase you down, and you're still scared of it. Even though he hasn't actually done anything to make you scared, you're still scared of it. Maybe the tall man with no face represents life in general, always watching but never waiting. Kind of like how time passes even though you can't see it. It's impossible to truly know the meaning behind the tall man, but like I said, whatever the case is, pretty scary, pretty uncanny, would not want to see 2 out of 10. And finally for this video is one of the least commonly seen and reported entities in liminal spaces. These are the screens. Now, this is a name given to a wide variety of beings that exist and spawn, you could say, inside of these liminal dreamscapes, all of which resemble some kind of digital screen. Whether it's a new screen or an old screen, that's what they are. Obviously, that's where they get their names from. The presence of these things is usually extremely out of place. For instance, you might see a TV screen inside the middle of a field where there's no other buildings, or you might see just one singular screen mounted in an empty complex. Or you could see screens in the presence of computer labs, just constantly repeated over and over again in one of your liminal spaces. But it's not necessarily what the entity is that's strange, it's what they do to those people that view them in these dreams. Take a shot every single time I say dream in this video. So obviously in these scenarios where you're exploring these liminal spaces, you're in REM sleep, you're dreaming. So if you come upon and approach one of these screens, they could be playing a variety of different medias from your life. Oftentimes screens play nostalgic TV shows or movies or something like that, or broadcasts that you've seen before. But some screens also play nonsensical media that you yourself have never witnessed. Sometimes these things have never even been seen before. It seems to be conjured up just by the screen. These often look like ads or movies that have been created by AI. They're not real. They seem uncanny. And watching these gives people feelings of strangeness. People report feeling hollowed out and empty by watching these screens, especially things that you've never seen before. If you see a screen that's replaying, let's say, a SpongeBob episode from your childhood, that might be calming and nostalgic. But if you see some strange looking ad that is uncanny and deranged, that's gonna fill you with anxiety and strangeness. But most of the time, when you see a screen in these liminal spaces, you can relax and you can chill and you can take a break from your exploration and watch whatever's being played. It's kind of like a pit stop. You can kind of just vibe for a few minutes. The screens are also not flesh and blood type entities like the other things maybe on this list. Again, we don't really think any of these are real. They're all conjurings of your own mind. But these screens themselves, they seem to operate on a hive mind kind of basis. And at some level, they kind of have a intelligence because they can switch TV shows and they can switch scenes and fast forward and that kind of thing randomly, even without you doing it. So they have to have somebody controlling them, or they themselves are in control. Screens themselves are also very rare to experience inside of liminal spaces, and their meaning is multifaceted. It could be something as simple as you've watched that episode of whatever it's playing recently, so your subconscious kind of produces them in these liminal spaces. Or their meaning could be as complex as some underlying condition that you have, some anxiety being shown live on that TV. For example, if you're stressed out, if you have trauma or anxiety or something's going wrong in life, the screens might be playing some strange, weird film that you've never seen before that involves death or a strange figure or something that will cause uneasiness. But for the most part, this is kind of just a nice escape from the struggle of life, and you can just sit there and watch whatever's being played. Liminal spaces are full of strange experiences that you can explore. Structures, textures, beings, expanses, labyrinths. These are all areas that you can walk through your lucidity while you're dreaming, and you can have these really cool adventures by doing so. And these three creatures that I've explained in this video that appear in those dreams, like I said, they're not actually real per se. They're just common constructions of our minds that multiple people tend to make in their dreams. And I think the fact that multiple different people have seen these various creatures in their liminal lucidity, that stands for something. That means we all have kind of this shared experience in a certain way. And I think that's pretty neat, pretty cool. These liminal spaces are meant to be strangely beautiful, yet empty and sparse. The life in the spaces is you. You're the only thing that is alive in whatever you conjure up and create. And that's the beauty of it, right? I myself have had plenty of these lucid liminal dreams, and it's just a really nice expanse and adventure into this amalgamated nothingness that is liminal space and liminality. And I'm sure if you've experienced a dream like this yourself, you also have the same feeling. Or maybe not, maybe yours was terrifying. Mine have been really chill. If you want me to talk about more liminal spaces and more liminal space creatures and dreams and that kind of thing, and kind of dig into the psychology of it all, leave a like if you enjoyed this video. That way I know to make more, that way you can tell me that. Leaving a like is the best way to do so. It's free. You can also subscribe. And if you want more content from me, check out the description below. Go to my third channel, Spoogly. I upload multiple times a month on there. Kind of longer documentary style videos. Doing really well. I appreciate y'all for that and the support you've given over there. I really do. Thank you so much. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, I cannot express to you how grateful I am for your support. If you made it all the way to the end, you're a real one, and I really appreciate it. I'm trying to diversify the content here on Broogly a little bit more, kind of breath of fresh air to the channel, and I really hope you all enjoy it. But my voice is gone from talking all day, so I'll end the video off here, and I'll see you in the next video on any one of my channels. Bye.